Well, this is a story a lot of parts of different governments worldwide would have you believe isn't happening. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Europe has surpassed 50% renewable power for the first time in the first half of 2024. Germany, though, are at 65%. Now, if you'd believe the news, 65%, that wouldn't happen. That's going to happen until 2057 or something like that. Therefore, we need millions of nuclear power plants to save us all. Well, turns out that was all a whole lot of baloney. And yes, once again, Tony Seb was right. I know he receives a lot of criticism. People say his predictions on EVs are not coming true the way he said they would. Well, what's of probably more importance is this. Electricity Industry Association Electric has released figures showing that 50% of public electricity generation in Europe came from renewables for the first time in the first half of 2024. Now, it's believed that these figures may not include some people who have rooftop solar. So that figure of 50% could in fact be higher. The association said Europe was decarbonizing at an unprecedented pace, with 74% of power coming from renewable and low carbon energy sources. That includes nuclear power, making a significant increase compared to the 68% share in 2023. Now, when I say nuclear power hasn't made an increase on these numbers. There's no new nuclear power plants that have come on since the last number of last year, since 2023. So that hasn't changed these figures at all. Going from increasing by 68%, right, versus 2023, that's come solely from solar and wind. This pace of change is incredible. These figures document that the decarbonization efforts of electricity companies are years ahead of any other sector, said Christian Ruby from Eurelectric. However, Eurelectric said data on electricity demand was intriguing. Due to industry relocating abroad, warmer temperatures, energy savings, and slow economic growth, power demand in Europe in the first half year 2023 decreased by 5% compared to the same period in 2022 and has continued to remain low in the first half of 2024 at 4.8% less than 2 years ago. So, interestingly, over that period of time, millions of electric cars have been sold in Europe. Somehow electricity demand has gone down. Now, the only way I can logically make sense of that is that more solar has been deployed on home rooftops, and that therefore is not being factored into these numbers potentially. A lower demand for electricity could mean that more homeowners are getting electricity from sources other than directly from the grid. In Germany, renewables covered 58% of gross electricity consumption in the first 6 months of the year, according to figures from the German Association of Energy and Water Industries and the Center for Solar Energy and Hydrogen Research, Baden-Württemberg. RenewEconomy.com.au says that in a press release, Managing Director Frith Joff said the record figures showed that an efficient, reliable, secure, and greenhouse gas neutral power supply was achievable at basically 100% by 2035. He said that Germany and Europe should produce more of the required technologies at home. In other words, the majority of this deployment has been Chinese-made products. Intriguingly, as well as this, and great news, is 65% of all electricity fed into the German grid in the first 6 months of 2024 came from renewable energy sources. This is much higher than were expected from this segment. Basically, and to be honest, the numbers we're hearing from politicians, how politicians talk, they're saying, all that energy being created, it's simply fossil fuels driving your EVs. It's the kind of narrative that is still being said. I know that's said in Australia by a lot of people, even very intelligent people, but unfortunately, it's the kind of thing that people in Europe often say as well. They're like, you buy an EV, it makes no difference to the air pollution, the air quality, to saving the planet, because basically you're just powering that EV with coal power, with coal or gas. Well, that's increasingly incorrect. And in fact, it's never been correct for a lot of people who obviously have their own solar panels. Now, speaking of solar panels, if you live in an apartment block in Germany, live in apartments, it doesn't mean you don't have solar. In fact, the big reason why Germany has increased its lead now over Australian solar deployment on personal houses or personal property is because in Europe they have different laws for solar. Now, in Europe, you can just put a solar system on your balcony, and well, thousands are doing it. Apparently, there's like 50,000 of these being installed every month because people are saving so much money on their power. They're like, well, why don't I just do it? They just put in these solar, basically really, really simply putting these solar panels on their balconies. They work incredibly well. And then if you're renting, right, you don't have to actually leave your solar panels there. You just take them to your next house, your next apartment. It's genius. Unfortunately, that's illegal to do in America and Australia. Why is it illegal? I'm asking you. What do you guys think that's illegal? Works well in Europe. Anyway, the Fraunhofer Institute's figures show fossil fuel generation has fallen by 15% this year. Generation from brown coal fell by 25%. Unfortunately, it is the second biggest power source in Europe at 21%. But guys, operating these brown coal power plants, which are many of them apparently are running at a loss, it's really, the writing's on the wall. There's not long to go before they are shut down, and that 21% probably becomes 1 or 2%. There'll be a couple of holdouts at the end for a couple of years, but realistically, within a couple of years' time from now, that brown coal will essentially have disappeared from the grid in Europe. Wind accounted for 34% of Germany's public net electricity generation, with 15% coming from solar. Germany is aiming for 80% renewable power by 2030, and considering it's already hit 65%, it's a foregone conclusion. Many people were saying that wouldn't happen. A lot of the media in Germany were saying 80%, it's too ambitious, we're never going to get there by 2030. This government, they're nut jobs, they don't know what they're talking about. What I just said is actually an understatement from some of the press coming out of Germany, but they've already hit 65%. So hitting 80% by 2030, considering that's 5.5 years away, I think they're going to hit more like 90%. I've been saying this now for a long time. The increasing electrification of sectors that so far rely on other energy sources, especially heating and mobility, will boost probably total demand for electricity in the next few years, according to Renew Economy, while cutting fossil fuel use. So the use of fossil fuels in Europe continues to decline. Well, now guys, all we need is for Germany to bring back subsidies for EVs, and I'm pretty sure they'll bounce back as well. Thanks for watching.